What's the most you've seen somebody lose?
So there was a guy that ruined the new business program. This guy lost up and down the strip just south of 60 million.
Remember all the pollsters, right?
Yep.
You know, Trump's going to lose. I'm like, hey, man, you know, what's Vegas saying? He told me.
It's over. It's
over.
already over.
Trump won.
How did you know that?
Just because you can follow the money.
Called it from
I
the
was
jump.
telling him that afternoon. It's over. And he's
He
like,
goes-
bro, it's getting close right now. And I'm
Okay, we're on. What's up, guys? We're here today. We're here with Brandon Wooden from PrizePicks.
Yes, sir.
We're learning about gambling today. Brandon, what is PrizePicks? Explain it to people who don't know.
Sure. So PrizePicks is
Me,
daily,
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I know a little bit.
Our tagline is daily fantasy made easy, essentially. So, for fantasy sports, you're able to play season long and, you play all year long. You draft a team. You're familiar with fantasy?
Yeah. So with PrizePicks, you don't bet on the game. You pick like 5 or 6 players.
We try not to use the term bet. So we'll start there. And
you hope on the game.
It's you
hope on some players.
The way PrizePicks is able to circumvent some of the laws of gambling, right? It's player performances. Right?
Okay.
So, and there's past historical behavior that you can premise your future beliefs on, right? So if somebody acted this way for, X amount of games or this amount of seasons, then you can kind of build this narrative that they're going to perform like that in the future.
Okay.
And so basically that's what it is player performances in any capacity being built together in a lineup is what we would call it. And you would earn a return on that lineup.
Right. And is it for the whole season or you hope on one game?
Whatever you can fathom, I would say.
Okay.
So we have season long. So Saquon Barkley's rushing yards for the entire season, 2,000.
Right.
But you also have them for the game for 100. So you can watch it, in that moment, or you can make it a sweat for the entire year.
That's amazing. Are you old enough to remember when you used to have had to have a bookie?
Yes. Yeah, I grew up with the bookie, actually. I had a bookie. His name was, Big Red. We'll call him Big Red. So Big Red was a professional poker player out of Ohio.
Yeah.
And his sons were miniature bookies, in high school, and they booked all of our bets and everything. But I kind of graduated quickly out of the miniature, and I dealt directly with Big Red. So yeah, I remember.
What happens when a bookie can't pay?
So one of the things with Brandon is, when I moved to Vegas in 2019, we became buddies.
Yeah.
I've met tens of thousands of people in my career as a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And when I saw his setup and how he, plays or bets, I was like, this is like a day trader. It's like literally like the level of sophistication he has with betting. It's not gambling, it's strategy. And done responsibly, I think there's a place for it in finance, but he's born and bred Vegas. Like the stories that he has, like I have never been like engaged in people's stories like I have with him about the Vegas lifestyle, the gambling, play World Series of Poker at 16 years old. Like it's an extraordinary story, the whole culture of gambling, and that led to his kind of journey at PrizePicks and where he's at. So I wanted to say that because I'm telling you, if he was to go on Wall Street, he'd be celebrated and known as a professional trader. This world is colliding with finance, and it's not just the money aspect. It's the fastest growing industry in America. It's outpacing UFC. It's grown to, what was it? How many billions last year? Like 120 billion in revenue 5 years ago.
Right up.
It was 800 million.
Yeah.
In revenue. So it's a threat. Financial services is threatened by sports bettors because we're not getting young people to do IRAs, mutual funds.
Yeah,
they're Gen Z and millennials. They're doing sports betting.
Right.
So this story is so much bigger than just sports betting. It's an industry that's taking over Gen Z and millennial generations.
Got March Madness starting on Thursday, or Sweet 16 on Thursday. So yeah, we'll get them some free lineups for the games. Yeah.
And so you're in the World Series of Poker at 16.
That was actually at 18 or 19.
sorry.
So, sorry.
I was going to say,
but
I don't
to
understand
John's
that
point,
a
I was
16-year-old.
actively sports betting, and my senior year in high school, I was my route to high school was stopping by the local Green Valley Ranch casino, and I would grab the sports betting lines that I would share with all my friends at lunch, and I'd play a couple hands of blackjack, and then I would head to high school. So that was like my senior, 17, 18.
And you were winning or losing? Or?
Yeah, actually, I was considered I think ignorance was bliss, and like you didn't care about the money as much, and I was doing a lot of things for, income purposes on my own side hustle that I had a little bit of excess. And at that time, we caught lightning in a bottle, because I still look back and I'm like, my buddy Joey at the time, who was living in an apartment with his parents, he started betting. He gave me $50, and we bet a 2-team parlay, which is like terrible odds, not a great thing. But at the time, again, we were just still figuring out all this sports betting
Through Big Red.
No, this wasn't through Big Red at the time, actually. This was just very, very early on. And so this was at Renata's, where it's a small local casino. And he started with $50, and we hit a 2-teamer on Monday night. I forget, it was Brett Favre Brett Favre in the over, though. We had the Packers in the over, and he turned 50 into 180. And I just remember about a month into it, he had this jar underneath his bathroom sink, and he was betting $500 on a 2-teamer now. So it had gone 10x his bankroll of comfortability, and where he was able to pull money from. That's how well we had done.
Right.
I wasn't very skilled at that time. I was just betting more or less favorites and what I liked, whatever eye candy made sense, and not knowing about what I know now, public and value and analytics and all these different things that go into actually being a successful sports bettor. I think that year, being senior, we just caught lightning in a bottle, and we did really well.
What goes into being a successful sports bettor these days?
Number one,
yeah,
I would say discipline. Just with anything, being successful in anything, I think it's going to be discipline. It's really hard to feel like you pick a smart stock, or you pick a smart side of a game, or you pick anything, and it's all playing out before you, and you think it's all going according to plan, just the script and just how you envisioned it. And then in the last minute, everything gets pulled away from you. And it's hard in that moment because you're already calculating not only the money you had invested into it, but the ROI on that money, right? So now say you bet $5,000, right? And now you're thinking, I'm just waiting for this clock to hit double zeros. I'm going to get $10,000 back, essentially. You're starting to calculate what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to re-roll it into the market, or I'm going to put it on my car, or I'm going to give my whatever it may be.
Right.
And then the rug gets pulled on. Somebody hits a buzzer beater, or the refs get involved, or somebody fumbles. It's just a complete anomaly of what's supposed to happen in the game. Do you have the discipline in that moment to not chase that loss? Yeah. And I don't know many people that really do. I don't even always have that wherewithal. Because I sports bet. I can't play PrizePicks as an employee of their company, but I can do traditional sports betting. So I still have that problem with the discipline, because now the apps, we didn't have the apps back in the day. So it was a lot easier back then to be disciplined, because you had to go to Wells Fargo, or you had to go get your money from underneath your mattress, whatever you're pulling money from, right? Yeah. Then drive to the sports book, watch the person count the money out, you know. And there's that whole element of it. It's a whole process. Versus now, it's like I can click this button and I'm live. I'm back in the game, right? So.
And what do you say to people? What do you say to the detractors about these apps and things like that?
Yeah, I think
because some would say, John, that like if these guys are. If they're not disciplined, they're not skilled like you, and they're putting their money in PrizePicks in places like this, they should be putting it in something safer. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, and we're really big. PrizePicks is kind of leading the charge on responsible gaming. So we do a lot of things to protect not only ourselves on the back end as somebody that's rolling this out to mass consumers, but also to the consumers that are playing on there. We want them to be responsible on there. We want them to play with money that's for entertainment purposes only. This shouldn't be your side hustle. This shouldn't replace your normal stream of income. It shouldn't be looked at like that at all. Right. So we do things internally with governor. We do age restrictions on how much people can play, frequency of deposit behavior. So there's a lot of things that we do that's
good.
Somebody wouldn't be able to do outside of the app, really. Because Wells Fargo is going to be like, they're not going to stop you from coming in and getting your money 3 times a day, right? And Green Valley Ranch is not going to stop you, or the Wynn Casino is not going to stop you from coming in there 10 times a day. So there is those things that are built in the app, and those are constantly evolving and becoming more strategic to protect both.
I think that there's more restrictions and responsibility that they're putting in than was done during the housing bubble. When the banks were lending money to people with stated income, saying whatever you want, like that was a free fall. Free for all. It was a free market. Do whatever it wants, right? Right. And it's interesting because nobody's going to stop their vices cigarette smoke. Is it bad for you? Yeah. Eating unhealthy is bad for you. People still do it. You could put those tumor pictures on cigarette boxes in Europe and in Asia. People still smoke. This is a vice, and evident by the growing nature of the business, like doubling it every single year of revenue. It's not going anywhere. And like anything, it's no different than putting money in an IRA. 55% of all stocks ever on the S&P 500 has lost money since inception.
Right.
So
sure, I've lost a ton on the stock market.
So
yeah.
it's no different, and so
not even crypto, the stock market.
Yeah, majority of everyone, crypto too.
Yeah.
Here to share.
Damn Robinhood. Robinhood, the worst name.
Yeah.
So it's no
not giving any money to the poor.
It's no different than anything other asset class. And with the responsible gaming, putting 5% of your paycheck into that and setting discipline, it's no different than stock, than crypto, than real estate. So especially like if he gets into some of the psychology of it and the know-how, like I still can't imagine understanding. I've never sports betted, but when he talks about it, I'm like, how do I even learn this? Like I would have to take a course and be taught this stuff.
That's kind of what I was looking for an answer a couple questions back was you said something like, now when when you're doing PrizePicks or something like this, is there like an algorithm, or is there more of a more technical way to look at all these things?
Sure. So
do people use certain apps to be like, oh, this guy's going to play better?
1,000%.
Right.
And those are being mass produced every single day now because everybody's trying to tap into that market. Everybody's trying to come up with some type of cheat code or cut this corner to be more profitable. And I would say a lot of those are probably gimmicks. A lot, even like some of the stuff I see on the internet, like people are like, there's a guy that posts these PrizePicks slips and they're like for millions of dollars. I'm like, we don't even have limits that will allow somebody to bet that amount. But this guy but he's doing it to an audience that's going to believe it, and they're going to be like, wow, if this guy's winning at this amount, he must have the secret sauce or the almanac or something like that. But there is things like that. I can't speak to them per se because I don't play on PrizePicks, but for sports betting specifically and picking just traditional sides of games, there is a lot of science that goes into that. I think. Tell
me about it.
Okay. So you're a big stock market guy, right? Yeah, win or lose, you're a big stock market guy.
Go ahead.
So about 4 years before I started PrizePicks, there was a private equity fund that reached out to me, and they're like, hey, we love how you talk about sports. We want to diversify our portfolio. We think that if you can formalize this, what would that look like? So I told them that I thought a game, right, a football game, is just like the opening of a stock market. And the market is going to go like this all day long based off how the game plays, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be opportunities to buy low and sell high essentially throughout the game. And they were really intrigued by all the language of this. And then I had to walk them through and what that looks like. And a perfect example, what's your favorite sports team? What's your favorite sports?
The Celtics.
The Celtics. So you love to watch the Celtics play. And who do you love to watch Celtics beat up on?
The Lakers.
Okay. Celtics, Lakers. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's say, and you've bet on a sports spread before.
And I'll say it is great.
Yeah.
Like I've been to Vegas and I've placed, and when you have money on the game, it is 10 times, 100 times better. And you're there with a friend, and you're like, oh my God, and otherwise I would be like,
it's not a 30-year wait.
And then you're making enemies across the sports book that you don't even know because they're rooting for the Lakers, and you're like, fuck those guys, Celtics all day, right? And
we talk about this. It's not a 30-year wait for return on your money or 59 and a half. I retired.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
It's not a 30-year wait. So it is a fun thing. Sorry to cut you off, but that's important to talk about.
So the professionals of the world, the lines makers, right?
Yeah.
They want to balance the scale for a team, right? Because it's not always fair when the Lakers play the Celtics because somebody could be hurt or there's a discrepancy of talent, right? So right now the Celtics are the world champions. So if they played the Lakers in Boston, they'd probably be 6.5, 7-point favorites. That would balance the scale, right? So that kind of makes it like, okay, if I take it intrigues interest on both sides. Because if I just said you can bet the Celtics outright, they're just going to get one-sided action, right? Everybody's going to bet the Celtics because they're world champ, and there's a talent discrepancy there, right? Now that could be argued with Luka and everything, but let's just for this sake. So the spread is 7, right? We'll just in this hypothetical situation. Well, how many times do you turn on a Celtics game and from start to finish the Celtics win the game?
Yeah.
How many times? 0.
Right.
It's very, very rare that from the moment the ball is tipped off in a game, that team, whether how much better they are or worse they just lead from start to finish.
Right.
The same way when you open up your stock market. Tesla is not going to just look like this all day, every day. it's going to go like this, right? All throughout. And there's a story in there. So the Celtics, whatever, maybe they played the night before. Maybe they're hungover, whatever. They start slow. So the end of the first quarter, now the Celtics are trailing 30-25. So I have an opportunity there. This game before the game was set at -7. Now I could take the Celtics maybe -2. There's value there.
Right.
And so people now have the opportunity, if you make a predisposed position before the game, like, hey, I'm going to buy the Celtics, but I'm not going to pay the retail price of 7. I'm going to wait for them to get down because I know they suck in the first quarter. Right. I know they make halftime adjustments.
You can place a bet during the game?
In-game live betting is the only way I believe to bet the games. And that's what I presented, is you play it like the market, right? And then you go back and then when the Celtics wake up in the second quarter and they catch fire and Derek White bangs 5 threes in a row, next thing you know, they're up 10. Well, guess what you can come do now? Instead of taking the Lakers +7, you can take them +12. So you have this huge middle room of basically zero liability and only opportunity on each side.
Oh, wow.
By just patiently waiting. Most people don't want to patiently wait, right? They want to, right when the game tips, all right, we're locked in. But if you want to be successful,
that's so interesting.
You buy value.
I didn't know you could do that.
Because you got to think about it, and how many people, whether they know sports or not, say, man, how does Vegas know? How do they know the spread? It comes down to 5 every time, or they set these totals. 236 points is supposed to be scored in this game. It's always right there. It's 234 with the last possession. It's all, I mean, obviously there's anomalies and there's huge blowouts, but lines makers do a really good job of setting the lines, of making this balance. That's what their job is, to balance the scale, right?
Yeah.
Well, if they're doing their job and you're buying value within their job, you're going to be much more successful than somebody that does it before, when they're buying retail price.
Yeah. It's stock trading.
Yes. And then you come back and you hedge
so
it.
Interesting.
Yes. And you come back and you lay your liability off on the other side.
Really quick, if I say, remember I told you the story about when I was in Vegas for the All-Star game?
Yeah.
And I couldn't do PrizePicks because it was in Vegas. You can't play it there.
Yeah.
And I hit him up and he called it, and that was a winning bet. During the last election, remember all the pollsters, right?
Yep.
Trump's going to lose. I'm like, hey, man, what's Vegas saying? He told me
it's over. It's already over.
Trump won.
I'm telling you right now, because the poly markets of the money was such an indicator.
Wait,
of
how did you know that?
Just because you can follow the money. There's just the money never lies with this stuff. Usually, the big
bettors,
monies.
Right?
You mean the money that's being bet?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. And you knew where the big money and where the lines and the
Isn't
action.
that interesting.
And he called
it
from
I
the
was
jump.
telling him that afternoon. It's over, and he's like,
goes,
"Bro, it's getting close right now." And 5 o'clock, and
he's like, "It's
because
over. It's
at
done."
the end of the day, this is their Super Bowl, right? CNN Super Bowl and Fox News Super Bowl, right? They don't want to tell you that the Chiefs won in the first quarter. Right, they want you to be a fourth quarter overtime draw. They're not. I told them at 4 o'clock, this is already over. I'm telling you, the odds of Trump right now, based off the money coming in, it's.
And it wasn't
done.
political. He didn't care. He
I
was
didn't
just
care.
talking the
Yeah.
odds.
Sure,
right?
sure. You're just telling you
Yeah,
facts.
that's
Yeah,
it.
And that's when they were the media was saying, the pollsters, oh no, Kamal's going to win. He's like, it's over, it's done. He goes, the money lines and this and that. If I use the correct terminology, he's like, it's done. Trump won. I'm like, I don't know, man.
So what's so prevalent now is you have people paying for professional sports advice, right? You hire somebody, you're like, all right, man, I'm tired of picking the Celtics every night. I'm getting my ass kicked, right? I'm going to go hire somebody to give me professional picks. And what happens is that guy gives out those picks to the masses, right? Because he's got his whole, whatever his system is, but he's not giving it to just you, right? He's giving it to 10,000 Jasons, right?
Sure.
Ideally, in a perfect world for him. People are subscribing to him. Well, what happens is that money moves the market. So you're not getting what the professional's number is, right? If he had the Celtics maybe at -5, by the time he's released it, all these people have come bet the Celtics. Well, the number's going to keep creeping up because there's more money on that side. They got to balance the scale. So you're getting the worst of the number essentially at that point.
Right.
You don't want to buy every half of a point matters in sports, and people don't realize that. People forget how much different 3 and 3.5 matters in a football game. Astronomical, 10% of the time it's going to affect your bets. Essentially, that's how big those numbers.
Why does 3.5 matter to 3?
So key numbers in NFL, right, being 3, 4, 6, 7, and 10.
Right.
I would say probably 50% of games land on those numbers.
Yeah,
those numbers are relevant because touchdowns, right?
Right. You can score 7, 6, or you can score 3.
So when you're getting through those numbers, it's going to increase your odds of either winning or losing drastically because if
3.5 cannot be covered can cover a field goal.
Right. So you're sitting there in overtime like, man, I got -3.5. You're dead unless somebody snaps off a touchdown.
Yeah.
But if you waited at some point, you bought 2.5, you're live.
Can you do that at PrizePicks bet during the game?
They have in-game props as well on players. We're
Yeah.
still developing that. Second half stuff. We're still developing it, but it's there. Yep. And there's opportunity. I tell people there's opportunity there because we get caught up, all of us, as a recency bias. What have we seen is going to be what's going to play out. And that's rarely the case in sports, right? It's very rare, back to my point, you just see a team do one thing for the course of 60 minutes. It's going to be this ebbs and flows and this amazing comeback, and there's going to be stories told within the game.
Yeah.
And you got to take advantage of those opportunities.
What happens when like Jake Paul fights Mike Tyson?
Sure.
And people bet on that. Is that
so? Yeah.
So that I think I remember it being that Jake was said to win. So if I had bet on Mike Tyson, what would have had to happen for him to win?
You would have gotten 10-1 on your money.
10-1,
right? So,
right.
And that's going to be enticing to every person that grew up. They knew, right? The sportsbook know. Same thing with Floyd and Conor McGregor. You got 20-1 for Conor.
Yes, we went to that fight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining. It was a good time. It was
Sure.
a spectacle, right?
Sure.
Conor threw some punches.
Yeah.
So there was so much amateur money because who's going to go and take, if you got $100, right? We're in Vegas. We're going to go to the fight. Let's have a good time. I got a couple $100. Well, nobody's going to go bet Floyd $200 to get 220 back collectively. That's not sexy or exciting. You can't buy anything with that 20.
No.
But I'll tell you what's fun is betting $200 on Conor and getting $4,000.
Yeah.
So much so, there was so much of that thought. By the time that Conor closed, I want to say he was 7-1. He was only plus 700, right?
Right.
And like what happened is you had professional Wall Street guys come in and be like, Conor's not winning this fight if Floyd blows out at both of his MCLs. I'll put $100K up to win $1,000 because in their mind, earning 1% on money in 2 hours on a guarantee, it's a no-brainer in your world, right?
Yeah,
or 5%,
sure.
whatever it is,
sure.
right?
Yep.
And that happens a lot. You'll see these Wall Street guys. Right now, there's an opportunity that I think's out there right now. It's Shea Gildress, SGC, right? So Shea Gildress Alexander, SGA, I'm sorry. I apologize on the enunciation, but he's up for MVP for the NBA right now.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, OKC. He's minus 900 to be MVP. His only competition is Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is hurt. He's not going to win MVP. There's nobody that could be in second place. So what you're going to have is a bunch of big Wall Street guys. And they'll be like, you know what? Where else can you earn 10%? I'm going to come lay $100,000 just to win 10K.
Wow.
Because not your normal amateur sports bettor is not going to do that, right? Nobody's going to go tie it up for a couple months. No way. But
That's
this is like
insane.
as surest thing as possible, basically.
It's like when the market drops, like Tesla dropped, you had Wall Street throw $100 million in because in a month we're going to make 15%. That's $15 million.
They know the value of it.
Right.
Yeah. It happens a lot with future markets. Lamar Jackson being MVP was one of the biggest ones where they just came in and it was like minus 2,000. So every $100 you wanted to win, you had to lay $2,000. And they were like $250,000 bets coming in on this guy. Any way and any which way they could get it down. Going to multiple sports books, all these different things. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because there was no competition. There's no competition.
The worlds are so aligned between equity, stock market, and sports betting. They need to write a documentary or a book on this. Like, it's incredible. Even like if you look at crypto, right? Crypto goes up, like what Brandon was saying, when big institutions come and drop money, and when he gave that analogy of somebody giving picks, that floods the market and makes the lines change, right? Yeah. Same thing with crypto and the stock market. You have someone come in, institution with ETFs buying a bunch of Bitcoin, it shoots up the value of Bitcoin because you have all this big money coming in. And then you have the people that are average outside buying higher, and then they can sell and it can move the market. So these pickers he's talking about that bring all these people in attention after and change the lines, the similarities of investing, and that's what I was saying. I don't think it's gambling; it's strategy. And like, but you got to know the game. Just like if anybody hopped in the stock market, they don't know how to trade options day one. They don't know how to short stock.
Sure.
Like they'll get murdered.
And then when Wall Street came to you, what did you do with them?
So we started to develop what we were going to do as a fund, and they were going to put up the money. And then I found out that I guess 15 years ago, somewhere along the way, Wall Street tried to do something like this in Vegas, and basically Vegas they were trying to put some things in place, and I was telling John this earlier. I kind of am at a loss for some of the. I'm losing some of the things, but basically, one company said we'll do it, and they took all the action, just got smoked by all this. But they were supposed to get participation from the Strip to offset some of the liability specifically,
Right.
And basically, at that point, there was no entity.
What else? What else?
What else? What else? Yeah. What else could I?
This is like really interesting.
His whole Vegas experience and story is, I mean, you know, he was a executive casino host.
Yeah, I love that. Talk about that.
Okay.
And can I ask, because these are some of my favorites.
Yeah, please.
I can't believe how much people would gamble and get markers, and you fly them in, you bring in the jet, send them to Taipei or Hong Kong, pick them up, bring them in. Can you share a little bit about that? Because that was some of the thing that had me on the edge of my seat.
Sure. So
And you don't need to name names, but just the situations.
So I ended up out of college from UNLV. I went to school for hospitality.
Sure.
Moved to Four Seasons, Denver for a couple years. Just wanted to leave Vegas, get a fresh break. Went there for a couple years. But in my last position there, I was in the hosting capacity, non-gaming.
Yeah.
Come back, do some my own entrepreneurial things, and then get into the gaming industry, into Caesars. And at the time, people were like, why are you at I had family working at the Wynn. I had other opportunities. Caesars was a tired product. Essentially, it's built in the mid 1950s, right? There's products of like the Wynn built in 2004. So it's really hard to kind of get high caliber customers into Caesars, right?
Yeah.
But Caesars had this thing called the new business bonus. And what new business meant was anything that was not inside of Caesars database, either inactive or which meant 2 years of no play at any of their regional properties. So they had like 40 some odd regional, North Carolina, all these, not a dollar could be dropped in to be eligible for this, or completely inactive in the system. You've never walked foot into any Caesars property. You had an opportunity to capture 20% of that revenue for yourself.
As a host.
So they were the only ones on the Strip that offered that. So
Wow.
I hear this story about this girl at the time that brought in a guy down there that lost $10 million. And the net, she got like a $1.4 million check off of that for doing her job essentially as a host.
I didn't know this is how hosts got paid. That's why I was so, wait a minute.
And most of the times they don't.
What?
Most times they're not incentivized on win-loss, and nobody else really offers this. And even my dad was in the industry. He's like, that's idiotic. They got to put a cap. They just put a cap on it, right? Cap it at $250,000.
Yeah.
So everybody's still happy, right?
Yeah.
At the time, there was no cap. So I was like, I got to get in there at Caesars. I got to get my lottery ticket, right? Because
What do you go down and just interview or?
so my dad was in the industry. I had the Four Seasons thing, and there was a guy actually from Four Seasons. His name was Ramesh. He was the head of Caesars at the time, front office manager at Caesars. He's like, man, I really think you'd be great as a host. And I had not really thought about being a casino host or anything, but he's like, they got this, so I went over there, took a huge paid demotion, and had to basically learn, pay my dues, earn my stripes for 2 years. I watched these guys that were very inadequate. Like you get a lot of different walks of life as hosts. You have these really amazing ones, and then you have these guys that are just like, they're maintenance hosts. They're reservation takers instead of reservation makers, as we used to say. So 2 years of almost purgatory of just watching people that I thought I could, maybe a little pompous, but like I thought I could run circles from a service aspect of it. My attention to service was that's what my passion always was.
Yeah.
So I just sat there for 2 years learning the game, not having an opportunity for new business until you graduate into an executive. Finally, like I start forcing Caesar's hand, like, hey, I'm going to leave. And they basically say, we're going to carve out a role for you. We're going to make you an executive. We're going to pay you the league minimum. And it's going to be only dependent on new business. You're going to be the new business executive host. Well, simultaneously, I have some family and some close friends leave the Wynn at that time under, when Steve Wynn regime kind of clears out, I get promoted simultaneously, like within a couple days as some people are clearing out. So they start helping me send business as I'm a brand new host, right? And
people from the Wynn are sending you business.
Yes, exactly, because they're like not necessarily sending me business, but they're not sending it to the Wynn anymore.
Right.
And they're kind of like, I'm telling them come hang out at Caesars, and I'm giving them free slot play just to hang out and be like, hey, invite your buddies that used to hang out with that Wynn.
Yeah.
And so like I
Right.
would comp everything, and so they would bring customers over there. And so so Caesars offered this new business program of 20%, and I mean, we would do anything and everything to get a new guy in the door. So really, like my first week on the job, I had this guy, Arash, come in there and drop and it was like this guy was such a maniac at the blackjack table. He would stand up and he would play, because we can do a sheet for an hour. Every sheet that you fill out by hand is considered an hour of gameplay.
Yeah.
And you can track it through the computer. You can track it through sheets. This guy would put up 40 hours of blackjack in a 24-hour day. Like, that's how much he was just playing. 50K a hand, 50K a hand, 50K. But what happens is
how do you play 40 hours in a 24-hour day?
Because it's a sheet. So every sheet that the casino pit manager fills out, that counts as 1 hour.
Oh, got you.
Versus just letting the clock roll for an hour. So it's way more beneficial to the host. Like, hey, this guy's basically been here for 2 days, because we're actually incentivized on what's called theoretical. And theoretical, outside of the new business program, and that's how most hosts are incentivized in Vegas, is what game you play, how much you play it, and how long you play it for. So like roulette and craps roulette and slots being really high theoretical generators, because they're a little bit more volatile versus your baccarat, your blackjack games, right? So the less volatile, the less theoretical. It's going to take more time for you to hit your benchmark on that specific customer. So theoretical was kind of our end-all be-all, except for when it came to new business. So when it came to new business, you would see these hosts, and we're all sweating them because it's our money at that point. So I have this guy that's in there. He's betting 50K hand. Well, you got to think I got 20% of that. So I got 10K in each hand is basically in and out. But mind you,
you're sitting there like, oh, come on!
No, because you're with the customer. You're sitting there, and I'm like, I got to act like, come on, Ross. Come on. Oh, my God, my kid can't go to school. Oh, there goes the BMW. Oh, my God. And, like, you're going through this wave of emotions.
But if he wins, you don't get paid.
I still get paid on my normal salary. I have an opportunity to recoup that loss and get into the green as well. So
whoa, you're gambling.
I'll get you to another story.
That's so funny. You're the host and you're gambling. Like, you can recoup that loss. What does that mean?
Yes.
So if he keeps playing,
not even him. It's aggregate throughout the year. So another example, right? So I would go in the back, right? And we had the casino room. In the back room, you could watch all the screens. So you could literally like sweat without being next to the customer, right? If he wanted to be alone, or he's having a bad shoot, or you feel like you're bringing him too much luck, you're like, I got to get the fuck out of here, man. You send a different dealer in there. You send a different cocktail waitress. You send whatever you got to do, right? So I would go in the back and sweat these hands, right? So another story in that same breath is I had this guy, Sean. This guy, he was a big player at the Win. He had a $2 million credit line that was up to $4 million. So that means we could give him up to $4 million, right, at the Win. I finally get him over to Caesars. First guy I bring in under the new business program. Signs up for $1 million line. He doesn't even want to be there, mind you, when he gets there. He's like, he's only there because the guy from the Win kind of brought him. Yeah. And like, I'm coattailing off of that. He's like, yeah, we're at fucking Caesars. Let's get to, you better make some shit happen kind of thing. Like, he like meets me like so disrespectfully, right? Meanwhile, I actually was on a family trip at Pelican Hill when he decided randomly one day to come. This little bit of like inside of the host life, but he's like, hey, I'm coming in today. Literally left my family trip, left Pelican Hill, met him at the cage. As he walked in, I was walking in from the plane, basically. Like,
so literally, you're at Pelican Hill and you're like, I gotta go.
Well, this guy's going. Get an opportunity. 400K's on the line. All of a sudden, right? Like, all of a sudden,
of
so
course.
I'm like, all right, I gotta go. Gotta be there. Yeah. Adios. So wife, kids, everything, left them behind. They understood it. And so I meet this guy at the cage, and he opens up for $1 million line. And oh man, this story is so good. And so he's like, of course, his villa. It's his first time at Caesar, right? Every time his first time, and he's used to the win. So I'm like, man, I'm already got an uphill battle, but I'll win the guy over. I'm not concerned about that. His villa floods, so we got to move him, his family, his 5 kids, all of that. So I'm like, we're off to a great start. He's literally fucking with me as he's telling his wife, he's like, yeah, we got to go back over to Encore. This place is a fucking piece of shit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose chance. You know, I
left Pelican Hill for this.
Yeah, exactly, right. Just to get roasted and the villa to flood, and you know, there's nowhere to put him for a couple hours, and it's just like the terrible first off experience. And all he keeps talking about is the Win. We got reservations at Sinatra. It's like he's still going to the Win, right?
Sure.
We get him settled in. He's playing real light. He's up a couple 100,000, right? So now I'm in the hole. I got to recoup that couple 100,000. But the way he plays 50K a hand at baccarat, that's literally could happen in 10 minutes. So I'm not like discouraged, but he had played light. So about the third day of the trip, we had dinner that night set for Sinatra's at the Win. He goes out to our Caesars pool and plays low limit blackjack out there. Like, I think the max is like 10K out there, right? And he's calling me. He's like, these fucking rules out. And I told him, I was like, it's weird out at the pool. It's all for carnival games essentially out there. So it puts him on tilt though. It totally sets him off, and he loses like 50K out there. And you would think it's recency bias with a lot of these guys. You got to remember, it's not like how much have I won in totality. It's like, what have I won in this moment, right? Yeah. So now that puts him on tilt. So he comes inside, Fires through a couple 100,000. All right, now we're trending the right direction. Now I got him down. Now I got him down 200K. So he's like, all right, fuck this. Let's get ready. We're all going to dinner. You're coming with. We're going to the Win. I'm like, all right, man. Perfect. You know, it's good bonding. You want to build a relationship. So sure enough, we all go over to the Win. And I swear to you, we're all sitting outside of Sinatra in high limit baccarat. He throws us each a couple $1,000s to bet with him. Can't really bet against him because baccarat's kind of a communal thing. Like, I don't want to take player. He's betting banker. Sure. It's basically a coin flip, right? So I watch him fire through $750,000 in a matter of 20 minutes. And he's just like, I mean, like literally sent the wife off to go to the Chanel. And by the time they come back, he's like, yeah, give me 10 minutes. We're about to cancel dinner. And I'm just like, God, that would have been what fucking, if that would have just happened at Caesars. Yeah. Like, oh, and it's taken 3 days just to get, so.
Oh my God.
He's like, fuck this place. Fuck the Win. We're going to go eat dinner and we're taking Caesars for $1 million. Right, B? I'm like, that's fucking right, Sean. That's the hell we are. Right? And so.
$1 million. Yeah. Oh my God.
And it's crazy
to bet 50 grand a hand like that.
It's also crazy the guy that has money, like in any of your groups. It's the guy who has money. Everyone is just like, okay.
And sends the wife off to go spend 50 grand at Chanel while he's losing $750,000.
And when you have the money, you do call the shots. You're like, we're going here. We're going here. We're
totally.
Like, all right, yeah, we're got we're going.
That's right.
Sure.
So sure enough, he called his shot. And we ate dinner, and I swear to you, so we had this private room in the back, and there's, in high limit, when we walked in Caesars, there's a roulette table there, and then you would go to the private room in the back where they were smoking cigars. These guys are all like Irish, like hardcore, smacking each other, knocking people off the chairs, everything. So they had this private room in the back. And I knew I was fucked because when we walked back into that high limit room, he threw just $1,000 chip, but he threw it up in the air. He's like, put that on my ex-wife's anniversary date.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even look at the roulette wheel as it spins. It hits for 100K. Somehow he wins for 100K. Yeah, I swear to God. And I was like, oh, I am fucking toast. Like I knew in that moment I was toast. Sure enough, he plays that baccarat table till 3 a.m. and hand to God, I'll call him right now. I took him from Caesars, helped him negotiate his discount because he owed the Win $750,000. I'm calling his host at 2 a.m. and be like, yeah, your boy over here is killing me for the $1 million that he owes you. He's gonna come pay. So we negotiated his discount. I drove him back to the Win, and we paid off all his with Caesars plastic bags, like the gift shop bags of $750,000. Jumps in my car. His buddy's next to my
chips
my
or cash?
car seat. No, all cash.
Okay.
We're stacked in this little G-Wagon. His buddy's got sitting next to my kid's car seat in there, $750 cash in the car. And we shot down the block and went and paid off his markers that night with basically all my bonus, right? And then some. And then he threw me a nice little tip, which was nothing close to the $400K. About 1% of the $400K, yeah, and
Dude,
that was
you should
that.
write a movie.
Yeah,
I told him he better write a book, dude. There's
but I would go in the back
stories.
and I would just watch these hands, or you got to sit by them, and it's just like, oh my God, you were torn, just so torn.
I love that angle of a host. Like,
Yeah.
it's such an interesting pocket.
Yeah.
I thought you just asked him for discounts, when you were checking out. Yeah. Like, I didn't know that this what host did. I didn't know he'd get the Caesars jet, pick people up in places and bring them down.
We had a buy invitation. It was our biggest event of the year. It was a 10-person poker tournament, and your invitational gift was a Rolex. And I swear to you not, we would, by the end of that tournament, you would see these guys worth not hundreds of millions, millions of millions. They would be selling the Rolex in high limit. We're like, how distasteful. You literally just got the gift from, and he's pawning it off to a guy here for $10,000. He's stuck. I swear, a beautiful Batman GMT watch. I'm like, oh my goodness,
that was
man.
The invitational gift.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
And this guy's selling it at the cage because he's stuck in the black. He's like, I need a double down. Yeah.
You guys make the games too hard.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It's set up for the casino to win.
Yes.
But
very
yeah,
much
I
so.
get it. That is distasteful.
Yeah.
And your guy, how much did he walk away with that night? Did he just break even?
No, my guy?
Yeah.
Oh, at Caesars he was up 1.1, but
Wow.
for him he left the trip up 300,000. But he got a free plane in, free jet in, free villa. So it's like there's a lot of other comps and things like that, discretionary spend that goes into all that. We gave him 50,000 just to show up. We'll give a customer 3 to 5% of their value, and that's based off of their bankroll and their average bet. We'll give that coming in the door. So people take shots on that. So I learned that the first time, actually, when I was a junior host. There was this guy walked in the host, there's like $100K cash, and I was like, I look him up, he's not in the system. I couldn't take him, but I hit my buddy up. He was kind of my mentor at the time. I'm like, hey, we got to get this guy. Sure enough, I put him under the $4,000 free play voucher. He put the $100K at the case. Come back the next morning. I'm like, okay, let's see. Literally took the free play and headed out. I think he hit every place on the strip. because he put the money up. He had the tangibility. So casinos will be like, we'll take the shot on it. And he'll just take the shot on the 4,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the most you've seen somebody lose?
So there was a guy that ruined the new business program. It wasn't my guy, unfortunately. I would not be here. But this guy lost up and down the strip just south of 60 million. With us, he lost about 25. Yeah. And then they went in and put the cap on.
In one weekend?
Over the course of a week. Yeah, maybe 10 day in and out. Yeah.
And you say put the cap on, they're like, you're done.
They put the cap on the new business bonus. We're not giving you $5 million off of this guy.
Right.
So
right.
they capped every customer at like $250K. I don't remember it because I was already 1 foot out the door. I was like, once this bonus structure's gone, I'm done with Caesars. I'm over this. Yeah,
$60 million.
Yeah, up and down the strip. He lost it at Resorts, the Wynn, or Bellagio, Resorts World, and then with Caesars.
On one trip.
Yeah.
Around what time was this? What year?
This was that was towards my last year there. So when was I there? 2019?
COVID-ish time?
2020. Yeah, right after COVID. 2021, 2022. Yeah.
And what's the most you've seen somebody win?
Well, I saw my buddy Sean beat me for $1 million live. I said,
Really?
yeah, well, the guy that I just told you, I watched him beat, 1.1. He beat me for that night.
Yes.
That's probably the most I've ever seen.
What about Bruno Mars? Did he have a $53 million debt somewhere?
I can't. That's an MGM property, but it's funny. My brother-in-law, he finally has come full. He's like, man, you were saying that 10 years ago that Bruno's gonna be singing and dancing for the rest of his life. I was like, man, there's no. Bruno's a big deal. To have him in a small, intimate ballroom every New Year's, he must owe somebody something. So, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah. But he's a big time player. So much so that Bruno's host only has Bruno as a customer. Most hosts have 400, 500 customers.
Incredible.
Yeah, this guy has one. Wow. One. Takes care of everything.
And so when did you how did you end that part of your life? What happened?
Sure. So I had a customer at that time that was an early investor in PrizePicks, and I was looking to transit. We had gone through a new merger and acquisition through the Carano group at Caesars, and things were just being run differently. Bonus structures were a lot different.
Yeah.
So I was just burnt out. I used to love hosting. I used to be there early, unbeknownst, just because I loved the energy of the casino and I loved I loved hosting.
Sure.
And it just changed, and I just fell out of love with it, and I felt like I was just being drugged there, I wanted to do something that was inspiring to me. So I had this customer, and he's like, hey man, they were early investors in 4 different sports companies. And he's like, I think PrizePicks won't need you at all. They're killing it, and he's like, but we'll send your resume in. And I sent it to PrizePicks and basically sold PrizePicks on doing something similar to what the casinos were doing to their customers and adopting that strategy to PrizePicks.
Yeah.
So from there, we became player development for them and basically just focusing on acquisitions, VIP retention, things of that nature.
I see.
Yeah.
So your job is to go out and find the big
Find,
players.
Retain, develop.
Yeah.
Collaborate, different collaborations and things like that.
And how does that conversation go? You're on a yacht or wherever you are.
Yeah. It's different every
you're
time,
at a
though.
party, you're at a Christmas party,
Sure.
you're with your wife or whatever, and a guy rolls over and whoever he is, he's worth $100 million.
Sure.
How does that conversation go?
I love things to be organic. I never want it to feel forced. So if some guys if the game's on in the background, I may just spark up because I can speak that language.
Right.
30 years of that. So I just kind of usually let those. Now a lot of times those conversations will be brokered. Hey, you got to meet my boy at PrizePicks. You're a big sports bettor. My boy over here is a big prize. I just and so it's a natural. When it comes to sports betting, it's not a sell. You don't really have to. It's not like I'm like, here, buy my product. Or
Right.
People are like, hey man, help me out. I'm getting fucking crushed. So it's an easier segue. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
So,
Yeah. Have you ever seen anything wild on the casino floor? Like anything insane?
Your probably definition of insane and mine are probably a little bit different based off of just being there for so long. But
what would average people think would be insane?
yeah, let me think. I mean,
Like the guy who robbed the casino in the motorcycle.
oh, that's a
helmet?
good one. Yeah, I didn't see that one
Yeah.
live, but that's a good one.
It was a really good
What
one.
goes
Yeah,
on in a casino? Like
I've seen a guy like guys will try to skip out on their markers, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
your
Oh,
marker,
that's a good
especially international, is not good. Like you can't deposit that check. So like you've seen a guy from trying to get back to Korea or Hong Kong or something like that, and he owes and I'm gonna hit the bathroom real quick, and he hasn't signed his marker because that's like a signed check essentially. So if they don't sign that, it's really hard for them to follow through with collecting on that, and especially when it's international. So you'll see people kind of do all types of antics to not sign those markers. They either.
And then what happens if someone tries to leave? Do
they stop the jet. They stop the jet on the runway.
So this guy, they held up his whole family on the runway because they were all loaded on the plane. This guy's supposed to be So it's not going anywhere in that sense. But it's not always our jet. A lot of times they have their own private plane too. So you got to make sure he just doesn't get out the doors.
They call the FFA, stop that jet from going. Type stuff.
And what if you owe $30 billion and you can't pay it?
It depends, It just
you go to jail.
Sometimes, usually they'll do collections, and each casino will work with you differently. The Wynn may not handle it the same way Caesars will. They may let you. Like I had this one customer, he owed us for a long time, but I knew he was good for it, and he would come play against his debt, and if he would win, I'd let him keep 20% of it. Yeah, and 80% went to his debt. Which was just really unorthodox, but at the end of the day, he was generating theoretical for my benchmark. So I'm like, this is a great thing because,
it's crazy that there's no, like you said, the gray area. There's no, it's, hey, we'll let you work it off and play. Here's 20%. Let them keep it. It's so interesting, that world, how they make it work to keep business.
People are going to win. But once they win, that's their new high water mark, right? Yeah. And that becomes now, nothing below that is acceptable, essentially. Yeah. So you're constantly chasing literally your last bet, and it's like the moment you place your next bet, the odds are against you on any of those things. So you're not likely to retain or stay at that. You got to probably put in a certain amount of coin, dropping down here to try to get back up. And that's where you just see boom. And I've seen a guy, oh man, quick story, but the guy was up 500K and he's waiting at the cage, and he usually flies private. And he's literally closing out his line. He was so happy. He was stuck a couple 100,000. He gets out. He's waiting for his check for or he was going to get cash. I'm sorry. And he gets the cash. And he's like, oh, wait. I need a paper because I'm flying commercial. I need something for the airlines to support this amount of cash. Yes. So the cage is putting this paper together. Now the cage in high limit is here, right? So imagine the cage is there. The blackjack table is right behind here. Yeah. This guy sees a guy's bright shirt, and he's like, man, that's a nice shirt. He's like, I'd like to play. And he's just waiting for this paper. No! Again, none of this is fabricated, I promise you. No. He's like, I'll take... Now he's waiting for $500,000. So he's like, I'll take 8,000, I think he starts with. Nothing that could hurt him, right? Sure. This guy... He loses not only the 500 at the cage, but his full 500K line in that instance. Not immediately, because he chased that 8,000.
Because some guy said, "Hey, I like your shirt."
Yep.
And he said,
he said that to somebody. He's like, "I like your shirt. Table. I'll play with this guy." I'm like, "No way." I was like, "Triple G, just wait. They're gonna have your pay." No, it's fine. 8,000, no. 8,000 turned into $1.8 million swing essentially. Because he lost that 8. Yeah. Kept chasing. And then, of course, it's on me, right? The motherfucking cage thing. I'm like, that was pretty strong.
Did you get the player bonus?
No, he wasn't new business. He wasn't. He wasn't actually my customer. I was overseeing him for somebody else at the time, but I was kind of getting him out the door, and I was just like, this is, literally waiting for a document.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
How much money do people have?
Yeah.
Yes. What are they fucking
doing? It's crazy. Dude, there's thousands of these stories. Like I was telling you, he's one of the most interesting people you're ever going to talk to. This whole world, it is like it's like a form of art and controversy and triumph. Like it's actually like a beautiful story. And the Las Vegas community is a very unique place. It's an amazing place to live. People are awesome and fun. Like it's a story that I think needs to be told. I'm telling him, dude, you better write a book.
Yeah.
Like this
is working on it.
This is 0.01%.
Or just like a guy coming in, I'm sure you don't have to talk about this, but I'm sure they come in and ask for prostitutes. I'm sure they come in and they ask for drugs. They ask for the moon, and they're spending that much and they expect it.
Yeah, and that's up to each host. Like I saw right when I started there, I saw a couple really good hosts get canned for that situation. They got looped in with the pimp and and it basically got canned because of it. So I was very specific on where my gray areas were, and when it got into that, so I was like, no, I'm not. Unless certain customers, of course, there's always the exception. Unless you're new business, all right, then fine, whatever you want, But yeah,
you got a $5 million marker.
But if you're a regular consumer, there's no way, man. I'm not dealing with any of that shit. No, yeah.
You said a lot of great things, and yours has been awesome. But the thing that I thought was so funny was when you said that if you're bringing the guy too much luck.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and I'm gonna go back and watch the cameras for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're gonna send a waitress over that might be bad luck. Is
Yeah.
there like a waitress that has bad vibes, and so you send her over?
You try anything because it's energy. Back to his point, a lot of it is just like the psychiatric side of it. It's just like as soon as somebody feels unlucky, you don't know what that's going to be for them, right? So maybe I am they're feeling lucky next to me because there used to be, don't you go anywhere, don't you fucking go. I'm like, man, I gotta take shit, right? Like I don't know what I gotta tell you, but I gotta leave this table because I'm watching my kids' college savings go right down the drain. I was like, so I'm gonna go,
But
dealers are usually the biggest ones, I would say, though. You send in a cooler. Not that we have like a team. I won't play
is that what a cooler is?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
For me, and I can say this because I'm part Asian, I guess, but I won't play against Asian women. Like I just refuse. I think that they're just assassins. I don't know why, but to each their own, So
Really?
if I'm having a great run, me and Todd are playing at the blackjack. We're playing 3-hand, all this great run, and this guy's dealing, this nice wholesome white lady mom that lives next door to us is dealing all these blackjacks, and then all of a sudden. This no
expression.
Assassin sits down like, I gotta get. I'll test the water. I give her one hand, but if I'm not losing more than that one hand.
What about counting cards?
Counting cards is pretty prevalent.
You see that? And you throw people right out.
They're pretty quick about finding out. It's pretty telling. And now the surveillance is so strong on this stuff, and like the way they have to do it, basically, the uptick of bets, versus like the minimal. They'll come in there, and sometimes if like it's a newer customer you don't know, they'll just be like, all right, picking them out, you can no longer drop below that. So instead of playing this 25 minimum, $5,000 maximum, 25 minimum, like picking them out, you can no longer drop below that. So that's a nice way to kind of meet them in the middle when we expect. Yeah. So picking them out. Yeah. You're no longer, if you're going to bet 25, that's fine. You got to bet 25 the whole time you're here.
I don't understand. How does that affect card counting?
Because card counting, go ahead. Okay. So card counting is almost like the in-game strategy of sports betting, right? So as the deck becomes more favorable, you want to get more money down on the game, essentially.
Bigger bets.
So as all those face cards are loaded into the shoe because you've counted all these small cards come out, you want to get more money on the table because the dealer's more likely to bust on bust showing cards, and you're more likely to make premium hands.
Yeah.
So now I've watched that happen for $25 a ticket. Right, my price of admission was $25 a hand. $25. Okay, now the count's really good. Let's bet $5K. Yeah. And that's what like Seal's gonna be like. All right, buddy. You clearly count cards. Yeah. And but you'll go on YouTube. You'll see all these antics that people do. Oh, they act. Oh, I'm all in. I'm all in again. I'm all in again. Yeah.
I gotta get out of here. Let me dump all this in.
That's a great one.
I
exactly.
gotta get out. I gotta fly.
Yeah.
That's really
And they'll in one hand it'll work, but like as soon as you do that with any type of consistent behavior, exactly, they're gonna kick you out.
Are there any movies that you've seen like Hollywood get the casino right?
Not that I could think of.
Not like Rounders or
no,
or
like
Rain Man.
Yeah, I mean, some of those are a little before my time too. But No, I still think that there's a world where somebody's gonna get involved with the casino and start to show. But like we were approached by Bravo, who does the Below the Deck series, and they really wanted to do something like that for the casino host and like just portray like. When I told them the Pelican Hill story, they're like, that's what we want. We want to show like how hard the host life, because hosts sometimes, believe it or not, like amongst the casino employees get a negative connotation because they see these guys walking around in suits. They have the power of the pen, they point fingers and they go to these nice dinners. And so everybody's like, what a great job. I would love to do that. I'm over here cleaning cigarette ashes. This other person's wiping mirrors. I would love to be a host. And it's like, you don't realize that, 4 a.m. I got a phone call from this guy that he decided that he's coming in today, and then at 8 a.m. he canceled, and at noon he decided to re-come back in, and then at 2 o'clock he added 20 people to his party. You didn't see all that before I showed up to work, by the way, this morning. That's just like a normal little nuance of the day. So they wanted to do something like that. The casino was too concerned about the negative light that it's going to show them. So I think eventually those worlds will collide, and they'll end up getting it right.
Or Netflix gives him a deal, and he does
a
exit show.
Yeah,
such a fun.
It's a good time.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, it is.
And how's Vegas changed? Is it still the same or
now it's kind of? Yeah, I mean, Vegas has changed in sense with compensate. Like the comps are a little bit more stricter. They're not buying business as much as they were.
Yeah.
And now you got a lot of people, influencers, trying to come down there, and Vegas Matt is like kind of the pioneer of this, but like just filming themselves gambling, you know, and the
Playing
consumption for this is you heard of this guy Vegas Matt?
No.
Shout out to Vegas Matt for the free plug, man. But anyways,
He
This
just
guy-
films himself playing slots.
literally high denomination slots,
Yeah.
$50 to $500 a pull,
Yeah.
filming it, just commentary like this behind the scenes, 500,000 views in 4 hours,
Yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah.
Of
And it's not
somebody else
allowed
that
to
you
film it.
Yeah, they're allowed.
Oh, they are
now
allowed.
you're starting. That's the biggest change I would say, is that where cameras and things like that were like big no-nos. Now you're seeing, especially Resorts World, who's kind of struggling. You're seeing them tap into that market, and they're like, okay, we'll let you film at the table. Which they should. Why? I think you should just have a whole film pit. Right? Like, hey, filming's allowed over here, no filming over here. So you know everybody over here is okay with it, and everybody's not over there. But that's the biggest thing. And you're seeing a lot of those people that are struggling to get their customers in the door, they're trying to get a footprint and something like that. They're getting a little bit more aggressive with allowing filming.
Yeah, we filmed one once, and we filmed a couple.
But it was hard, I'm sure.
It was really hard
Yeah.
to film. Why does that guy get 500,000 views playing slots?
I don't understand.
I think now, because people want to gamble so bad, but not everybody has the discretionary income to do so.
Yeah.
That's almost their mini fix.
Yeah,
Or that's maybe, hey, I'm gonna go play, and it's a cool way to see the games. Like, hey, I want to maybe play this game, but I don't have the, I'm not in Vegas right now, but I'm gonna go there in May. Let me see what this guy's playing, and then they see the thrill of the jackpot and all the different options that the games. It's mostly slots, so it's like all these different progressive games that have. It's their way of kind of getting their fix.
I looked him up,
Yeah.
that guy, and he posted a video it was 3 hours ago and had 900,000 views in 3 hours. But that's again proof where this industry is going nowhere. To do it responsibly is important, right?
Yeah.
Gambling, this whole lifestyle, the DGen lifestyle, it's going nowhere. It's growing at fastest growing industries in America. And so I think people should actually say, okay, if I'm going to do this, let me allocate 5% of my paycheck to it. Just do it
Sure.
responsible so you don't fall down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because of all the people, it's always fun hearing the high roller stuff, right? But there's a lot of average income people gamble too, right?
Oh, yeah,
they don't do it at that
absolutely.
extreme.
For sure.
Do you think that they're more disciplined? Like, I'm going to gamble $50 and then I'm out?
I think they are more, and those governors are put on them whether they like it or not, maybe because they're married and their wife's going to see the checking account. So you can't just go deplete, so there's certain versus a guy that's just worth Uber, he's not answering to anybody in that sense. So, but
where does the average play go in Vegas? Is it downtown? Is it still, because they're not going to
for the
win.
locals?
Yeah, no, for average people, like
Average people?
visitors that want to just head to Vegas, walk the strip. Yeah,
That's like downtown area, yeah.
More downtown area.
Mandalay Bay though, you can, it depends on the time. You can get cheap rates basically anywhere, and people give you comp rooms for the most part anywhere. So I think the strip still you'll see, and then they'll walk the strip and go to these properties still that they can't essentially stay at, but they still want to gamble at.
All right, well, Brandon, thank you so much.
Oh,
man.
yeah, absolutely.
This is awesome. It's so interesting that you're just that aspect. I never knew about.
No, I haven't.
You're like
other
so
than
and so's
one
got a
time-
sprained ankle.
No, sometimes, but usually, see, that's where people make a mistake because that is built into the number. So you think you have an advantage.
Yeah.
The line makers are so ahead of you on injury information.
Yeah.
There was one instance when I worked at Denver at the time, the Four Seasons Denver. I was the host of all the sports teams and celebrities at that time. So at that time, the Cubs were coming to town. They had just won the World Series, so I think it was 2017 or something like that, and they were coming to play the Rockies as a season opener. And I just remember seeing the Cubs right when they arrived. They came down to the lobby, and the one dude had a big handle of vodka, and I was like, "Oh, they're not taking the Rockies." So I just texted all my boys back home. I was like, "Rockies series opener," and sure enough, it worked out. Maybe it was luck, maybe it was not, but you factor in the altitude and the alcohol. There's some opportunity there. Yeah.
Did you hear the story about Jordan? How they during this series, they gave him a pizza and he got food poisoning.
Yes.
You ever heard that?
The hangover game.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jordan's got he got away with a better time when all this stuff wasn't so polar. You can't get away with some of this stuff now, right?
Yeah.
You would be on somebody's TikTok at the blackjack table at 4 a.m. before Game 7.
Yes.
So yeah, it wouldn't fly. But yeah, that's a good story. That is a good one. So.
All right, well, good luck. Good luck at PrizePicks. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
in. John, our resident finance expert.
Gaming responsibly.
Yeah, game responsibly, guys. All right.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
guys. Appreciate it.